to Well-Advised On-Demand Learning, a series brought to you by the Kentucky Advising Academy, an initiative of the Council on Post-Secondary Education. I'm Kelly, a program consultant with KAA, here today to guide you through this module. We are so glad you're here, and thank you for taking the time to learn from this resource and further impact your own post-secondary advising system. Today, we want to talk to you about work-based learning opportunities and how students can gain hands-on learning experience while exploring career options and completing career and technical education pathways. It is common for students to be asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? In the early years, students may be able to tell you with certainty what they want to do. But as they get older and reality sets in, what do you want to be when you grow up takes on a much more significant meaning. What do I want to do for the rest of my working life? It's a hard question for anyone, but it is especially hard for teenagers to think that far into the future. While it is perfectly acceptable not to have an answer, it is certainly better to at least have a direction. Matching interests and aptitudes to careers is a great start, but it can still leave many unanswered questions. That is where work-based learning can benefit. So what is work-based learning? Let's hear from Tina Brogel, Work-Based Learning Coordinator from the Kentucky Department of Education Office for Career and Technical Education.
People often ask me, what is work-based learning? And defining work-based learning can be difficult. It's an idea of experiential learning that engages students through a teaching approach using curriculum in the classroom and extending that out into the community. And so to have work-based learning, you have to have teachers that are involved, students that are involved, employer partners and community partners who are involved. And when we all come together and create those real-life occupational experiences for our students, what we're doing is expanding the idea of what can happen and allowing our students to understand our community and, in essence, our communities to understand our schools and what the benefits are of the programs that are involved. Work-based learning, when done properly, is really a win for everyone involved.
Simply put, work-based learning is a way for students to be able to apply what they have learned in the classroom to real-life employment situations and receive training and mentoring from experts in their chosen career field. Oftentimes, we think of work-based learning as simply co-op or internship, but it is so much more than that. Work-based learning is a continuum of experiences for students that can start as early as elementary school. It is vital to expose students to a variety of careers as early as possible through hands-on learning opportunities. In order to fully understand the importance and benefits of work-based learning, it is important to have an understanding of the 8 different types of work-based learning and the resources available for schools interested in getting students started with work-based learning opportunities or elevating their existing programs.
As we discussed, there are 8 different identified types of work-based learning here in the state of Kentucky. All of those can be found in the Work-Based Learning Manual. And with all 8 of those types, it is important to understand that they should really be introduced at different points in education for our students. Districts that have really strong work-based learning communities really start in the elementary school level and the middle school level, introducing the concept of community, and that opens the door for their high schoolers to be able to experience those upper level work-based learning opportunities like internships, co-op positions, and often apprenticeship positions. So I would just like to briefly define what each of the work-based learning types are, and if it's applicable, I'll just give an example of what that is so it can put it as a frame of reference for you. So the first time we discussed was service learning, and service learning is the idea of community service, and we find that all throughout our schools. Anytime the school's doing an outreach to help the community, you are participating in service learning. The next type would be mentoring, and mentoring is a great opportunity to bring people from the community inside your school so they can see the things your students are doing and start building relationships with those students. Next, we're going to have job shadowing. And now job shadowing is going to be where we can let students go out to some of those trusted community partners and actually see some on-the-job work what's happening in the real world. How can we apply what's happening here back to our curriculum and work with that in class to create an idea of relevancy in what we're doing when we're inside the classroom? That's very important. Another kind of work-based learning is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is a little different than some of the others because entrepreneurship is really a personal concept for students. Students may have an entrepreneurial idea and they want to take that and work with it. And we have staff members inside schools who are willing to help and want to help our students when they have these grand ideas. And anytime we have that relationship where a school is using curriculum and resources to help a student create an entrepreneurial activity for themselves, then your school is participating in entrepreneurship. And that's a wonderful thing and a gateway for a lot of people to find success in this world. The next one I'll talk about, and one of my favorites, are your school-based enterprises. So school-based enterprises are opportunities for students to create real-world working experiences right in your school. And the easiest way to define these may be through examples. So a great example of a school-based enterprise would be a student spirit store. Maybe it's a cafe, maybe it's a coffee shop, maybe it's a greenhouse. Anything that the students can do to simulate, and it can be a simulated school-based enterprise, doesn't have to be one that's actually functioning, but a simulation or a functioning business that students can work with, and they can see how a business works from start to finish. That creates an idea of school-based enterprises and really helps students wrap their mind around business and the way businesses work. The next one I'll talk about is internships. So internships are a little different. This is going to be the first opportunity where we're going to regularly let a student leave the school to go out and have a work experience. And the thing to remember about internships, they can be long-term or short-term. They can be paid or unpaid. But with an internship, there has to be an educational component there. The employer must be in some way enriching the curriculum and involvement of education and teaching a skill while the student is on site. And it's closely related to, but actually a very separate thing from a cooperative education position, or what most schools refer to as co-op. And a co-op is going to be an opportunity where students have learned in school a trade, a skill, some type of concept through their curriculum, and they're going to go out into the workforce and they're going to practice that. We're going to release them from school and let them connect with an employer partner and actually do real work to give them work experience and the benefits of having some type of experience before graduating high school. And the last type of work-based learning would be your registered youth apprenticeship or your pre-apprenticeship program. And those programs are very important. They allow students to enter into what's going to be their career for the rest of their life, and it gives them an opportunity to have a leg up on other people who have not completed the curriculum and requirements for those apprenticeship programs. And the great thing about registered youth apprenticeships here in Kentucky is that we have Mary Taylor in the Office of Career and Technical Education, who works directly with and has been with this apprenticeship program, the TRAC apprenticeship program, since the beginning of its conception. And it's the Tech Ready Apprentices for Careers in Kentucky, and TRAC is the acronym for that. If you have any questions about apprenticeship programs, you can just call our office, ask to speak to Mary Taylor, and she will definitely let you know what you need to know in order to start being involved. Those apprenticeship programs are very important to employers in creating pipelines for our economy in our local communities. So I encourage you to be a part of one of these work-based learning processes and learn to build and scaffold on them so we can create those lasting relationships with our community partners.
Any student can participate in work-based learning. However, students can get the most out of these opportunities when they participate in them as part of a career and technical education pathway. Through pathway experiences, students receive both technical and employability content knowledge to better prepare them for a career in that sector. For example, a student enrolled in Food Science and Dietetics career pathway will have taken 4 courses related to that field of study and will gain content knowledge in various standards related to that career. Their pathway experience can then culminate in co-oping or interning in a pathway-related business such as a restaurant or food services at a hospital. If you want to learn more about work-based learning and the different types, the Kentucky Department of Education's Office for Career and Technical Education Work-Based Learning Manual is a great place to start. This can be found by going to the Kentucky Advising Academy's Post-Secondary Advising Toolkit, clicking on the Career Exploration tab, selecting the Start Here guide, and scrolling down to Work-Based Learning Opportunities. Here you will find a link to the Work-Based Learning Manual. The Kentucky Department of Education's Office for Career and Technical Education also has a resources page for work-based learning. You can find these resources by going to the KDE website, clicking on Career and Technical Education, hovering over Resources on the left, and selecting Work-Based Learning from the accordion options. The resources page is linked in the content. Are you ready for your well-advised challenge? The Kentucky Post-Secondary Advising Framework can help you develop activities to support students in work-based learning opportunities. We challenge you to review the Kentucky Post-Secondary Advising Framework and identify the categories where work-based learning is applicable. Identify your next steps in supporting students in experiencing work-based learning opportunities and develop a simple next steps plan.